Hello and welcome to the first open webinar by Italian Bark. You are really a lot here, so thank you so much for your time. I will make sure to give you my best insights in the next 20 minutes or half an hour. So this webinar is for you. If maybe you are an architect like me or an interior designer and you are looking for inspiration about trends, of course, not to copy trends, but to find new ideas, for example, for your clients or for your projects. Or maybe you are part of a company in the interiors and design industry, maybe you are a buyer or you work in the product development or maybe in the communication. So for you, knowing about the next trends can be a great tool to create or communicate better with your products and to have products which can sell more and better because they will meet your consumers' needs and taste with the right timing. Or maybe you can be also a shop owner or a freelance creative or just a design lover. So just let me know if you want in the chat also where you come from and who you are. And who am I instead? I'm telling you a little bit about myself. I'm Elisabetta Rizzato. I'm an interior architect, a trend and color consultant, and I'm also the founder of Italian Bark, which is a studio which I created back in 2013 as my personal blog. And probably you met me online, maybe on the blog or maybe on the Instagram or maybe in the newsletter. Maybe you are subscribed to the newsletter as well. And so I've been sharing about design trends for many years in the blog and in my channels. And I've been collaborating with brands in our industry as content creator, as blogger and influencer, and lately in the last year also as trend consultant and color consultant. And other than this, I also publish trend researches such as, for example, ebooks, webinars, or also trend talks with other colleagues, for example. And also in the last months, I'm renovating my home together with my husband, Dennis, that is here, hidden here somewhere. And we are sharing about the story of this long renovation because it's the country house where I was born in another account on Instagram called Italian Bark Studio. Okay, but you are not here to hear about me, but about the trends for the next year and hopefully also for the years after. So in this webinar, what you are going to see is a recap about style, color, materials, trends for the next year. And for doing this, I created 4 big concepts to explain them because you should know, maybe you already know, that what we define as trends, what we see in social media, the websites, are actually the consequences of other bigger trends that are about lifestyle, about many other changes that are happening in our society. And so you will find in this webinar 4 concepts, and inside each concept, I will focus on one material, one style, and some colors. Which are my sources for doing trend researches? Of course, I use some websites, also other trend platforms. I go a lot on social media, a lot of Instagram, but lately also lots of TikTok. I also go to Pinterest a lot. I use a platform which is called Pinterest Trends that is very interesting because there you can filter what people research by different countries and categories. So it's very interesting to see what people are looking for us doing trend researches. And I also try to visit as much as possible the fairs and events happening here in Europe. And I also do trend researches with colleagues and also for clients. Also for the bigger projects, I work also together with other colleagues. So, of course, you can take screenshots. Feel free to share everything, of course, and you will get anyways the recording of everything in your mailbox after this recording. So another thing also, if you have some questions, just feel free to write in the chat. I will make sure to reply at the end or if we don't have time, I will reply in my Instagram stories after. Okay, so so we can start with the first trend here. That is the one that I named Life is Now. And it's all about rediscovering well-being, and by going back to the essential and to the roots, to authenticity, and to a sort of frugality. And this in design means made by hand, means using natural materials, means also going back to more natural shapes. All these concepts can be recapped in the term cool cocooning that maybe you can have read in the websites or in blogs or on social media. And I think that we can also refer to warm styles, such as, for example, the modern Mediterranean one. And we mentioned the organic shapes. So here we are with the first focus, that is about curves. And we have already seen how curved shapes are a big trend now. Okay, if you have been visiting the last fairs, also you may have noticed how all sofas are curved, everything is round, okay? And also by researching on TikTok, when I was researching under the hashtag design trends for the next year, I've seen that one of the topics that comes out more is arches. Okay, so arches used like, of course, as doors, but also as decorative elements. And also I will mention a kind of new monumentality in the design. And here it comes the second focus that I'm doing under this concept, that is about travertine. That is, of course, a very old materials, but that is coming back a lot in design. And together with it, I would also mention other kind of decorative stones, such as, for example, onyx. So all these kind of stones that can be used, for example, for furniture, for bathroom design elements, for decorative objects, ceramics with totemic shapes, but also, for example, there is this trend, maybe you have seen it the last year, that is about Greek and Roman shapes. So about these Hellenic shapes reminding history and monumentality. So what about then the color for this first concept? I define them desert-inspired colors because they are very warm and almost burned. These colors all in the range of warm neutrals, of oranges, of red and browns. And they have a kind of 70s feel. And here in the slide, okay, at the end, you will receive a recording where you will find all the iconography of the images that I added. So if you see something, that you can refer to that and have a look. But I'm mentioning, for example, here, I added the first photo is Wild Wonder, that is the color for the next year, named by Dulux Sequence for the next year. Or also I added one picture that I took in, there are some questions that we read then after, some pictures, a picture that is from the Milan Design Week, where I noticed that the color that was really everywhere was this orange ochre, that is a very strong terracotta color. And I also added this intense rust that is from the forecast made by WVU, GSN, and Coloro for the next year, or maybe it's for 2024, maybe as well. And it's a very intense kind of red. So we can now switch and go to the second trend, the second concept, that is a totally different mood. And I named it Embracing Imperfection. Okay, so this is a trend that we are already seeing for a while, and that I think that will keep going next year. And also because this concept is very related to other bigger concepts, bigger changes that we are seeing in our society, and very important concepts, such as, for example, the one about inclusivity, gender neutrality. And these are really important concepts that are bringing some changes as well, for example, in the fashion industry, in the product design, and also in the way we design homes. Okay, so there is a new interest towards functionalism and of exploring new ways of reuse waste, for example, we will see later. And in the design, we can translate this concept in aesthetics that recalling, for example, the brutalism, but also concepts like the wabi-sabi that maybe you already know. If not, I recommend you to have a look at what it is. And again, I'm really making things super short, but there will be a webinar only to explain all these concepts. Of course, we have 20 minutes, so I'm trying to do everything, do a recap. And so how we can translate these concepts in interiors, I'm mentioning as one decorating trend, the one of about lime washed and patina walls. And because lime washed finishes, but also, for example, the micro cement, all these wall finishes are really good to underline imperfections on interiors, but also at the same time to keep a calm and soothing environment. And we are seeing this for some years now, and we are also going towards darker shapes on this, darker use on this, sorry. And also I will mention cement, of course, and with the term patina, I refer to the way that certain materials, by becoming older, also become more beautiful. I think, for example, about cotton steel or some kind of metals. Always related to this concept, but also to the other one. But of course, this is a way I did to group and explain them to you shortly in this webinar. The other concept I added here, the focus is about reusing waste. So all the new materials created from waste. And I really hope that next year will be finally the year where brands will embrace these new technologies where to reuse waste, okay, in their new collections. I've seen some example in this year as well. Many examples, of course, comes from students or from young designers, but there has been some brands also creating products that are sell on sale as well with these innovative materials. And for example, these two tiles that I added here in the screen are one by Forma Fantasma. They did these tiles, the ones on the left that you see, that are made from lava ash, and the other on the right, they were at we have seen them in Milan, okay, in June. And these were made from the waste of kitchen appliances. So for example, the glasses of the ovens. Okay, so these are tiles made with this waste. And also I added this rug as a very interesting example of colors also made with waste. This is a rug that is made with a very difficult process using byproducts from industrial pharmaceutical and food processing. This is a very complicated way of creating color, but it's very interesting to see also how many changes and news are coming also in the color as well, because there is a big problem also created by pollution when with commercial dyeing creation. Okay, so also we will see many changes also in the way we create colors in more natural ways, also by using waste. And this led to think me about another color trend that for this theme that I named, I define as worn neutrals, okay? And with this term, I'm referring to colors which are somehow raw and used, okay? And they gives a natural feel. For example, I would mention Xanadu, mauve, taupe, so these warm grays, and also the colors derived from patina or from terrazzo that can gives this feeling of imperfect surfaces. Here I added some samples. This is one showroom in Japan that has been opened in the last month. This is from China. That is an interesting bookstore with a concept, this concept that is recalling a grocery store and are made by reusing material made from waste. This is the Balenciaga new store in London, but then you will find everything at the end of the presentation. I know, bit okay. And on the other side, you will see that the other trend that I'm mentioning is totally the opposite with this concept I was telling before. And I named it the Gen Z maximalism. And with the term Gen Z, we refer, maybe you already know this, of a generation of people who are born between the end of the 90s and the first decade of the millennium. So they are around 20 years old, more or less. And they are bringing in very new, interesting trends and also new aesthetics, which are really in contrast with what we liked before, also with what I've been used to like, and I still like as well. And for them, decorating home is all about creating unique interiors to show who they really are. So there is a kind of seasonal decor, ironic, nostalgic decoration. For example, they usually refer to the 90s. That for me is like the day before yesterday, but for them is old, okay? And they also refer to very old style decorating as well. And it's an hyper-visual style. And I added here the word anti-Instagram to define how this style, this kind of aesthetic, really goes against all those kind of cliches that we have used to love so much on Instagram. Also, the generation before, the millennials like me, really like it so much. Just think about perfect images, perfect feed, flat lays, filters. All these kind of things are kind of that. And maybe if you use Instagram, you will have noticed how, for example, there are videos coming everywhere, images with no filters. Really, the aesthetic has totally changed in the last times. And as I was saying, interiors are for them all about being personal. So I'm doing a focus about statement walls because this is another keyword I found on TikTok that is about decorating walls, okay, also with wallpapers or with bold patterns, with colorful boiserie, and also maybe with rugs, with patchworks, and also for rugs, I'm mentioning irregular shapes, tufted rugs, patchwork. So all these kind of really bright and bold decoration. And together with this, as I was saying, they are also recalling aesthetics, for example, from the 90s. And in the next focus, I added, for example, the checkered pattern that is being used in many creative ways. For example, with optical effects, as you can see here. And also another trend that is coming strong is about squared ties. Okay, so the really standard 10x10 ties that we've been used to see in the public toilets, I don't know, in the toilets many years ago. They came back in many websites. They were mentioning that these kind of ties are the new subway ties. So yeah, this a big trend coming. And you will easily guess that this trend is all about using bold colors. And the interesting thing is that color here has been used in a new way. So here I defined the color clashes. That means working with opposite colors together, also colors that may not look so well together. Means also using bold colors as neutrals, using primary colors of the 90s, and maybe there will be also a neon comeback. In graphic design, there is already this. And here I added an interesting color, always by WGSN, color prediction, that is radiant red. This red that is almost neon. That I found it that I think is really interesting, something really new that I wanted to share with you here. So we are now to the fourth trend and the last one. And I have to tell you that when I shared this presentation with Dennis, my husband, before, he told me that it's the most difficult to understand, but you know, I know that you are smart people, so you will understand this, and I want to share with you. And it's about, I call it digital. Okay, if you work in the communication, you probably have already heard about this word that is about blending digital experiences with physical ones. And it's a term that involves many areas and industries, and it's very common now in communication and digital design, but it's also bringing two interesting changes in the design as well. And I added around under this topic also other important concepts such as the fluid design, fluidity in colors and materials, the concept of escapism, that is about creating new experiences, recalling the virtual world in the real one, or vice versa, or a reference to the retrofuturism, that is this aesthetic that looks back at the 70s, but I added something watching to the future, okay? So how this can be translated in design? Many things happening. For example, I've been seeing some wave shapes coming, such as the waves and twisted shapes. Okay, so on objects, on furniture, on decor, this is an evolution of the tubular shapes we have been seeing, and again of that curved design that I was mentioning before. But also there are some very traditional materials that came back used in new ways. And in the almost last focus, I'm adding glass so all kind of glasses, from colored glass used also on furniture, frosty glass, blown glass, milky glass. And here I added also glass blocks, which is something very old style that came back because it can divide the space, but also allow brightness and the light to come in. And also some kind of new resins with transparent effects. So what about the colors here? The last color focus that I'm doing is about digital pastels. I call them digital pastels because of this reference to the digital world, but for example, Pantone refers to them as electric pastels to underline how in the past years, we have been seeing a change also in the pastel colors from very classical and soft colors to a more saturated one. And also, I think there is a new way of using pastels together also with bold colors. And here also I'm adding, for example, the digital lavender that they mentioned as the color trend of the next year. We will see about this. And so as mentioned, I think that the old way of using pastels in that white spaces and beautiful soft are kind of dead, okay? But also times are changing, as we know, and homes and design is changing as well with it. Okay, so we all know that we are living also in a time that is not the best time probably, but we hope that this is bringing also good changes in our industry and way of living. So I leave you with a recap of these 4 trends, and just let me know which one is your favorite. You can let me know in the chat here. You are allowed, so don't be shy, just write in the chat, or also by sharing on Instagram stories and by tagging with Italian Bark. I will make sure also to share it in my channel. And if you have anything to ask or to add, also just add in the chat and I will reply. We have 5 minutes, so I can reply or I will reply on the Instagram as well. Of course, there would have been many other things to add here, but yeah, for example, I didn't mention, you have some notes about a lot about the vintage return that is strong as well, about the new luxury, about, of course, woods, that was, and also about recession and how this is also going to bring many changes in our ways of living and designing homes, but of course the time was this one. And last thing, if you want to know more about trends, I share about trends in Peace on Italian Bark, that is my blog, on social media and in the newsletter. I try to send it every week, and it's my favorite channel for communicating with you. And if you want to know more in details, there is also a new platform where I publish some trend resources. For example, there is a color trend book where you will find the trends I mentioned about colors and also many other trends with also all the references and color codes. And last, if you are part of a brand, and also I give custom services, trend services in the form of trend researches, seminars and workshops, mood boards, MF details, trend reports, and just contact me via email. I follow each project personally or together with other professionals for bigger projects. And we are putting together our calendar, so just contact me if you want to keep in touch or to work together. And we are just having a look at the chat to see, because here there are some questions, so we have some minutes. Okay, I think that one is interesting, so I will reply now. Also the other ones are, but time is short. So do you believe these trends are applicable for graphic design as well as interior design? Yes, I think so. And I think that some of them are also more easily to be applied to graphic design. For example, the last trend about digital passes, I think that will be really strong in graphic design. Of course, some things are easier to be applied on the graphic design, and some other else is easier to be applied to the home decoration. So, but some of them, especially about colors, I think that they can be applied in the graphic design as well. And okay, so probably, sorry. Okay, so you are mentioning that some of you prefer the number 3. Maybe you are a young one. I don't know. I would be curious to know. And another one, loving digital. Thank you, because yes, my husband said that was a bit wide trend, so I was saying I like it as well. And so thank you so much for your time and also for your nice comments and the other questions. I will make sure to reply to everything on my Instagram and in the stories. So just follow there. Thank you again for your time. I know it's not that easy to take half an hour of your day. So thank you again, and let's keep in touch.